Welcome to my channel, Soulful Chapters. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that brings the Wild West to life. The sun scorched Dodge City like a merciless overseer as dust swirled across the empty streets. The saloons were quiet, save for the occasional clink of a bottle or the low mutter of a gambler counting his coins. But on the outskirts, a barefoot woman collapsed on the sun-baked road, her dress tattered, her face streaked with sweat and dust. She had been wandering for miles, no one knowing where she came from, and certainly no one willing to help. For in Dodge City, kindness was a rare currency. Caleb Mercer, a seasoned rancher known for his stubbornness and a sense of right that often collided with town politics, rode into town that morning, unaware that his day was about to ignite. One of the fiercest tempers the town had ever seen. Caleb was a man who trusted his instincts more than gossip, more than the whispers of the townsfolk who liked to turn small happenings into explosive rumors. When he saw the woman lying there, he dismounted without hesitation, ignoring the wary stares of a few townspeople watching from behind their shutters. "Don't touch that!" a grizzled old man barked from a distance, the urgency in his voice carrying over the dry wind. But Caleb, as usual, did what he thought was right rather than what was safe. He knelt beside her, lifting her gently and inspecting her injuries. She was weak, near delirium from dehydration, and her lips were cracked and dry. Caleb knew that if he waited for anyone else, she might not survive. He wrapped his jacket around her shivering frame and began walking toward his ranch, explaining in calm, steady tones that she was going to be okay, though he knew little else. But news traveled faster than the wind in Dodge City, and soon the murmurs became shouts. By the time Caleb reached the first cluster of houses, half the town was gathered, pointing and yelling, accusing him of meddling in matters he didn't understand. "You had no right," someone shouted. "That's my business," yelled another, though no one really knew whose business it was. The woman, still too weak to speak, clung to Caleb as he tried to reason with the angry crowd. But reasoning was a luxury Dodge City didn't allow. In their eyes, the moment he touched her, he had taken a side, ignited a scandal, and challenged the unspoken code that nothing outside the saloons or the sheriff's office mattered. Caleb's jaw tightened. He had always known the town was fickle, quick to judge and slower to forgive. Yet, seeing the woman in need, something inside him refused to bow to public opinion. He led her to the shade of an old barn and offered water from his canteen. Slowly, she regained some color in her cheeks, blinking against the harsh sunlight, trying to make sense of the chaos around her. Her name, she croaked, was Mary Ann, and she had fled from a nearby settlement after a land dispute turned violent. She had no family here, no friends, only the hope that someone might help. Caleb's presence was the first comfort she had felt in days. Yet the crowd outside the barn continued to grow, curiosity mixing with outrage. By mid-afternoon, the town's sheriff arrived, his horse kicking up clouds of dust as he approached Caleb. "Mercer," he called, his voice a mixture of authority and irritation. "What's going on here?" Caleb turned, still holding Mary Ann's arm. "She was hurt, Sheriff. Needed water and shade. I'm just helping her." The sheriff's eyes narrowed, scanning the mob. Dodge City doesn't need her story. "We need order. You shouldn't have involved yourself." "Order?" Caleb spat back. "You call letting someone suffer order?" The tension was palpable. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some sympathized, some mocked, but the majority waited for the inevitable conflict. It wasn't just a woman or a rancher anymore. It was a statement about who had power to decide what was right. But Caleb, unshaken, led Mary Ann inside his barn, tending to her wounds, giving her a meal, and insisting she rest. He ignored the arrows of gossip and the barbed words from townsfolk who felt insulted by his defiance. That night, while Mary Ann slept, Caleb sat outside keeping watch, listening to the distant sounds of a town that would judge before understanding. By morning, the story had transformed in the mouths of those who repeated it. Some claimed he had kidnapped her, others said he was stealing cattle to cover up the act, and a few even suggested he had ulterior motives no decent man would dare admit. Caleb rode into town to set things straight, but the mob only grew more volatile. He tried reasoning with the innkeepers, the blacksmith, even the preacher, But Dodge City thrived on rumor more than truth. Mary Ann, aware of the chaos surrounding her, felt both. Embarrassed and grateful. She knew Caleb had risked not only his reputation but his safety for her. Slowly, the townspeople began to realize the depth of his integrity, but not before a fight nearly erupted in the dusty streets. The sheriff, weary of the escalating tension, decided to take charge. He gathered the crowd, listening to Caleb's account in full, and only then did some voices begin to soften. By sunset, the anger had dissipated slightly, replaced with reluctant admiration. Caleb had not only helped Mary Ann survive, but he had reminded Dodge City of a value that had been nearly forgotten: compassion over convenience. As Mary Ann prepared to leave for a safer settlement with Caleb's guidance, the town, or at least a part of it, nodded silently, acknowledging that sometimes doing the right thing came with a price, but that price was worth paying. Caleb Mercer rode back to his ranch that evening, dust clinging to his coat, sweat drying on his brow, feeling the satisfaction of a man who had chosen courage and kindness over fear of judgment. Mary Ann's safe departure marked a quiet victory, not only for her, but for anyone who still believed that one person could make a difference in a town ruled by whispers and fear. The tale of that day became a story retold for years, a reminder that the Wild West was not only about gunfights and brawls, but also about moments where the heart could triumph against the odds, where one man's choice to act rightly could ripple through a town like wildfire, leaving behind both admiration and envy, a story that would forever linger in the dusty streets of Dodge City and in the hearts of those who believed in courage, integrity, and the sometimes costly act of doing what was right when everyone else turned away.